everyone to Science Era. In this video, we are going to learn about carbon, the basic of molecular diversity. Living organisms such as plants and African lion are made up of chemical based mostly on element carbon. Carbon can enter biosphere through the action of producers. In this chapter, we investigate the properties of smaller molecules. We will use these small molecules to illustrate concept of molecular architecture that help explain why carbon is so important to life, while highlighting the theme that emergent properties arise from the organization of matter in living organisms. For historical reasons, compounds containing carbon are said to be organic and their study is called organic chemistry. Organic compounds range from simple molecules to colossal ones. Most organic compounds contain hydrogen atoms in addition to carbon atom. Vitalism. The idea that organic compounds arise only in organisms was discovered when chemists synthesized these compounds. Mechanism is the view that all natural phenomena are governed by physical and chemical laws. Organic molecules and the origin of life on Earth. Stanley Miller's classical experiment demonstrated the abiotic synthesis of organic compound. Experiment supports the idea that abiotic synthesis of organic compound, perhaps near volcanoes, could have been a stage in origin of life. His experiment was: first, the water mixture in the sea flask was heated, vapor entered the atmosphere flask. Second, the atmosphere contained a mixture of hydrogen gas, methane, ammonia, and water vapor. Sparks were discharged to mimic lightning. A condenser cooled the atmosphere, raining water, and dissolved molecules into the sea flask. As material cycled through the apparatus, Miller periodically collected the sample for analysis. His conclusion was that organic molecules, a first step in origin of life, may have been synthesized abiotically on early Earth. Although new evidence indicates that the early Earth atmosphere was different from the atmosphere used by Miller in this experiment, recent experiments using the revised list of chemicals also produce organic molecules. Carbon atom can form diverse molecules by bonding to four other atoms. Electron configuration is the key to an atom's characteristic. Electron configuration determines the kind of number of bonds an atom will form with other atoms. The formation of bonds with carbon. With four valence electrons, carbon can form four covalent bonds with variety of atoms. This ability makes large complex molecules possible. In molecules with multiple carbons, each carbon bonded to four other atoms has a tetrahedral shape. However, when two carbon atoms are joined by a double bond, the atoms joined to carbons are in the same plane as the carbon. The electron configuration of carbon gives it covalent compatibility with many different elements. The valence of carbon and its most frequent partner, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, are building code that governs the architecture of living molecules. When a carbon atom forms four single covalent bonds, the arrangement of its four hybrid orbitals causes the bonds to angle towards the corner of an imaginary tetrahedron. The bond angle in methane CH4 are 109.5 degrees in figure A, and they are roughly the same in any group of atoms where carbon has four single bonds. For example, ethane C2H6 is shaped like two overlapping tetrahedron, figure B. In molecules with more carbon, every grouping of a carbon bonded to four other atoms has a tetrahedral shape. But when two carbon atoms are joined by a double bond, as ethene C2H4, the bonds form both carbon are all in the same plane. So the atoms joined to those carbons are in the same plane as well, figure C. We find it convenient to write molecules as structural formulas as if molecules being represented are two-dimensional. But keep in mind that molecules are three-dimensional and the shape of a molecule is central to its function. The number of unpaired electrons in the valence shell of an atom is generally equal to atom's valence, the number of covalent bonds it can form. The valence of carbon and its most frequent bonding partners, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. These are four main atoms in organic molecules. Remember that only valence shell electrons are shown in the Lewis dot structures. Molecular diversity arising from carbon skeleton variation. Carbon chain form the skeletons of most organic molecules. The skeleton vary in length and may be straight, branched, or arranged in closed ring. Some carbon skeleton have double bonds which vary in number and locations. According to length, carbon skeleton varies in length. For example, ethane have 2 carbon while propane have 3 carbons. In branching B, skeletons can be unbranched or branched as shown in figure B. Butane, which is unbranched, and 2-methylpropane or isobutane, which is branched at carbon 2. Number C, double bond position. The skeleton may have double bonds which can vary in locations. For example, in 1-butene carbon, a double bond is on first carbon, and in 2-butene, double bond is on second carbon. Presence of rings. Some carbon skeletons are arranged in rings. In abbreviation structural formula for each compound, each corner represents a carbon and its attached or hydrogen. For example, cyclohexane and benzene. Hydrocarbons are organic molecules consisting of only carbon and hydrogen. Many organic molecules such as fats have hydrocarbon components. Hydrocarbon can undergo reaction that releases a large amount of energy. Isomers. Isomers are compounds with same molecular formula but different structure and properties. Structural isomers have different covalent arrangement of their atoms. Cis and trans isomers, or also called geometric isomers, have the same covalent bond but they differ in the spatial arrangement. Enantiomers are isomers that are mirror image of each other. Enantiomers are important in the pharmaceutical industries. Two enantiomers of a drug may have different effects. Usually only one isomer is biologically active. Differing effects of enantiomers demonstrate that organisms are sensitive to even subtle variations in molecules. Figure A shows structural formula. As we said, structural isomers differ in covalent arrangement of their atoms. If we compare two 5-carbon compounds, both have the molecular formula C5H12, but they differ in covalent arrangement of their carbon skeleton. The skeleton is straight in one compound but branched in other. The number of possible isomers increase tremendously as carbon skeleton increases in size. There are only 3 forms of C5H12 isomers. Cis and trans isomer, figure B. Cis and trans isomer, carbon have covalent bonds to same atoms, but these atoms differ in their spatial arrangement due to inflexibility of double bonds. So, if we consider a simple molecule with two double bonded carbon, each of which has an H and an X attached to it, the arrangement with both X's on the same side of the double bond is called cis isomer, and with the X's on opposite side is called trans isomers. Figure C shows enantiomers. Enantiomers differ in spatial arrangement around an asymmetric carbon, resulting in molecules that are mirror image, like left and right hands. Two isomers here are designed, the L and D isomer from the Latin word left and right, levo and dextrorotatory. Enantiomers cannot be superimposed on each other. A few chemical groups are key to the functioning of biological molecules. Distinctive properties of organic molecules depend on the carbon skeleton and on the molecular component attached to it. Several characteristics group called functional group can replace the hydrogen attached to skeleton of organic molecule. The chemical groups most important in the processes of life. Functional group are components of organic molecule that are mostly involved in chemical reaction. The number and arrangement of functional groups give each molecule its unique properties. Consider the differences between estradiol, a type of estrogen, and testosterone. The compounds are female and male sex hormones, respectively in human and other vertebrates. Both are steroids, organic molecule with a common carbon skeleton in form of four fused ring. They differ only in chemical group attached to its ring. The distinction in molecular architecture are shaded in blue. The different action of these two molecules on many targets throughout the body are basis of gender, producing the contrasting features of male and female vertebrate. In this case, the chemical group are important because they affect molecular shape and contribute to the function. Seven functional groups that are most important in chemistry of life: hydroxyl group, carbonyl group, carboxyl group, amino group, sulfihydryl group, phosphate group, and methyl group. Let's look at them in detail. So first one here is hydroxyl group. Hydroxyl group is polar due to electronegative oxygen forms hydrogen bond with water, helping dissolve compounds such as sugar. Compound name alcohol, specific name usually end in ols with hydroxyl group. For example of hydroxyl group is ethanol, the alcohol present in alcoholic beverages. Second group is carbonyl group. Sugar with ketone groups are called ketoses. Those with aldehydes are called aldoses. Compound name ketone. Carbonyl group is within a carbon skeleton or aldehyde. Carbonyl group is at an end of a carbon skeleton. So example of ketone is acetone and example of aldehyde is propanol. Third group is carboxyl group. Carboxyl group, it acts as an acid. It can donate H plus ion because the covalent bond between oxygen and hydrogen is polar. Compound name carboxylic acid or organic acid. Example of carboxyl group is acetic acid, which gives vinegar its sour taste. Ionized form of carboxylate ion can be found in cells. Amino group act as a base. It can pick up an hydrogen ion from the surrounding solution, for example water in living organism. Compound name is amine. For example of amino group is glycine, an amino acid. It also contains a carboxylic group. Ionized form of NH2 is found in cells. Fifth group is sulfurhydryl group. SH. Two SH groups can react forming a crosslink that helps stabilize protein structure. Here protein crosslinks maintain the straightness or curliness of hair. In hairs alone, permanent treatment break crosslinks then reform them while the hair is in desired shape. Compound name containing sulfurhydryl group is thiol. Example of it is cysteine, a sulfur containing amino acid. Sixth is phosphate group. OPO3 to power 2 minus. Contributes negative charge 1 minus when positioned inside a chain of phosphate, 2 minus when at the end. When attached, confers on a molecule the ability to react with water, releasing energy. Compound name containing phosphate group is organic phosphate. Example is glycerol phosphate, which take part in important chemical reaction in cells. Last is methyl group CH3. Affects the expression of genes when on DNA or on protein bound to DNA. Affect the shape and function of male and female sex hormones. Compound name is methylated compound. Example is 5-methyl cytosine, a component of DNA that has been modified by addition of a methyl group. ATP, an important source of energy for cellular processes. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. It is important in functioning of cell. ATP consists of an organic molecule called adenosine attached to a string of three phosphate groups. Where three phosphates are present in series, as in ATP, one phosphate may be split off as a result of a reaction with water. ATP becomes adenosine diphosphate or ADP. Although ATP is sometimes said to be store energy, it is more accurate to think of it as storing the potential to react with water. This reaction releases energy that can be used by cell. The chemical elements of life. The versatility of carbon makes possible the great diversity of organic molecules, each with particular properties that emerge on the unique arrangement of its carbon skeleton, and the chemical groups appended to that skeleton. This variation at molecular level provides the foundation of rich biological diversity found on our planet. This brings us to the end of carbon, the basis of molecular diversity unit. Thank you for watching. If you like my video, don't forget to subscribe.